And welcome to Embracing the Fight. I am Eric Lamar, your digital creator and host, and I thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to check out this episode of Embracing the Fight. And please, if you haven't already, taking a moment to click like, click comment, click share on any episode of Embracing the Fight that you have taken the opportunity to check out. All right. So, if you want to follow me on social media, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, X, Blue Sky, and Facebook, of course, and YouTube as Embracing the Fight. However, on Instagram, it is Embracing the Fight _ All right. So now that I've gotten the business of everything out of the way, I started to think about something that was very close to my heart. Because now that, it's been about, I don't know, since August of 2024 that I have been out, of corporate America. Yes, I still, have a small consulting business. And yes, I still am flipping houses. And yes, I'm still writing. I'm still doing, lots of things. However, I found that if you don't, have like a schedule, if you don't decide what you want to do like on a regular basis, you'll find yourself in a place of isolation. So that's what we're talking about today on Embracing the Fight. We're talking about isolation. So let's get into it. So you remember back in 2019, 2020, when the pandemic started, when COVID was rampant and goodness, people were staying at home. They were afraid that, if they came in contact with someone that they would die. And people were being mean. I mean, businesses were closing to a point where, like, fast food and things of that nature, they were shut down. But prior to them shutting down, they were like, what are we going to do in order to survive? So they started doing, the deliveries where there's no contact, or you couldn't come inside the restaurant to eat because you could potentially go into the restroom, and when you go in the restroom, there's a good possibility that you could leave some type of bodily fluid somewhere, and people are thinking, oh, you know what, I'm going to get COVID if I come in contact with it. Well, that being the case, people started to self isolate because you know what, they were like, you know what, I'm not, an essential worker, so I don't have to get out. I don't have to be around people. I can work from home. I can do all these different things. But what they didn't realize was when they started work from home, they started to basically isolate themselves. They started being around just their family or their pets. And you think about those people that, are single with no kids, what it was like for them. See, I was a little different because I was considered, an essential worker during that time. So I went to work every day during the pandemic. And it was just odd. It felt like a ghost town because nobody was ever around. There was nothing really to do. And people started getting in arguments with their significant others. There were more cases of domestic violence, more cases of suicide, because isolation does something to you mentally. So, what does isolation do? You think about when a person goes to prison and they do something wrong. Well, I mean, wrong inside of prison because, they had to do something wrong or be suspected of doing something wrong in order for them to get there, in the first place. So let's think about it. What is the worst thing that you could do to a person that has committed a crime? You put them in solitary confinement. Because when you're in solitary confinement, all you hear is the sounds that you make and the sounds, around you. But in solitary confinement, there's usually no sound. How do I know? I mean, I watch lots of like cop shows and prison shows and things of that nature, and you see that it is completely silent except for the sound of the door sliding when they're bringing a meal. And then usually the person tries to talk to the person that's bringing a meal, and they're yelling or screaming, and they sound like they're losing it. It's because people are gregarious. They need interaction. They need to be around, other people. So it's like you punish someone who's committed a crime by isolating them. You are really messing with their psyche. You are destroying, their mental capacity, their mental strength. You're taking all of this away. So just imagine you're in the free world and COVID happens. Now you're in solitary confinement. Nobody prepared you for it. Nobody said, it's going to end in so many months, or it's going to, be over and life's going to go back the way that it was, what we consider to be normal. But here we are, 7 years later, and the world has completely changed. Because think about it. Those companies that are, technologically driven, this was a major time for them to make lots of money, and they did. They capitalized on it. Think about it. You have these companies that instead of having to fill out paperwork or anything, you do everything on your computer. You don't have to pick up food yourself. You don't have to go to the grocery store. You have a grocery store, your groceries and everything, delivered directly to your home. If you want to eat something delicious, you can get on there Uber Eats and you can have it delivered straight to your house and don't even have to see the person that's dropping it off. And some restaurants, they actually have these little robots that, they take your order on this like device. And then that device then sends a signal to that robot. Robot goes to where the food is being prepared. And of course, at this point, someone's putting the food on the robot. The robot's taking it to your table. You're getting it. And then I've seen some places, and I think it was in New York, where you would punch in your order on this wall and then it'll give you a code. You go to this box and then inside you open the door, after you put the code in and you get your food out. And it's like no contact. And you have contactless payments. Think about that. None of that stuff, existed as great as it does now. You think about contactless payments, it's like you don't have to touch the money because money carries germs. You don't have to touch the credit card. You don't have to put it in anybody's hand. You don't have to do any of that. You just got a little device, beep, and you going about your business. But in all of that, we still created a huge form of isolation. Why is that? It's because it's easier just to do a task and not have to deal with a person. Think about it. When you go to the grocery store, you go through that self-checkout line. You're not dealing with a person. You're only dealing with yourself. And you are scanning your items, and you on the honor system other than that big camera that's in your face recording you. And if you accidentally put something in the bag that you didn't mean to put in the bag just because you had a, little slip of the mind for the moment, they're gonna come find you and you're gonna be arrested because everything is set up now where you're being monitored by cameras and you are able to get your groceries by scanning your own items yourself. Think about how it's impacting the customer service industry. You have fewer and fewer voices when you call in to ask for something. It always starts off letting you know, hey, there's an AI assistant. How may I help you? And then you go and you start talking to it. And sometimes it understands and sometimes it doesn't. Well, when it doesn't, they probably have one little operator that's answering a million calls a day that AI cannot answer. But guess what? They're working on perfecting the AI. And once it's perfected, guess what? Those people that were doing those jobs will no longer be there, right? So that is another form of isolation. When a person, loses their job and they see that a computer is doing their job, what if they're not, you know, at a point in their life where they want to learn AI, they want to learn something new. then life is going to be very difficult for them because this is what it looks like is going forward to be. And when a person feels like they no longer matter or they no longer can make a difference, they start thinking of alternative, routes. Either A, they're gonna want to leave this world, or B, they're gonna start robbing people and harming people because they can't make a way for themselves because they've been made obsolete. Whoever thought that a human would be obsolete? And once a person starts to feel obsolete, they isolate themselves. And then their mind starts to work on them. And they start to feel like, I don't matter, I don't make a difference, and I'm better off not being here. They commit suicide. Suicide rates are soaring now because of everything that's going on with technology. Now, of course, technology is not necessarily to, be blamed, but the way that we use it, the way that we react to it. Because think about it. We could still, go out, get to know folks, be around people, and get a job that, could be labor intensive, something that a robot or a computer program can't do right now. You can still do those things, get out and be around people. But sometimes people can only see what's directly in front of them. If they've done a particular job for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, then that's all that they know. And they feel like, it's over when they can't do it anymore. So instead of, isolating, there are several things that you can do. One, you can specifically choose people that you're going to have contact with each and every day. That way, your mind has a routine of reaching out, of being out there to talk to people, of doing different things. Because once you lose human contact, it's very, very difficult to feel normal and to be yourself. Because, like I stated earlier, the worst form of punishment that they have in prison is, when they are put in solitary confinement because no one truly wants to be alone. So the next thing that you can do, especially if you've lost your job and you want to try something different, realize that job did not define who you were. You were an individual that was created for a purpose, for something very specific that God laid out just for you. Just you can do this particular thing. And you've been working for many years and you've been, patting the pockets of the person that owned the company, but there's something in you that you can bring out and you can do now. I bet you're sitting there saying, well, what is it that you're doing? Well, I'm doing a lot of different things. I'm trying a lot of different things. You see, I have this podcast. I have my house flipping business, and I'm working on some consulting. And I also, try to get government contracts. But once all these things start flowing in, you'll see, or I'll be able to tell you, it may have taken a little while, but, God is faithful. Don't isolate yourself just because you've lost something that was easy for you to get. Anything worth having is worth hard work and worth working for. All right, the third thing that you can do to, not be isolated is take some time away from social media. I don't mean, you don't have to go on like a 6 month sabbatical or anything like that. But look at the time that you spend on social media. What does your screen time say on your phone? If your screen time is more than 5 hours, that's a job. That's not entertainment. I say 5 hours because, you might get on there, you might check the news. You get on, you check Facebook, see if, how your friends are doing and how life is going. Or you are looking to purchase something and you're having to answer emails, or you work for a living off your phone. Then I understand 5 hours. But sometimes when I'm not being nosy, I have noticed that people have 15 hours of screen time. It's like, well, what? What did you do today? What is going on? How are you able to have 15 hours to do nothing but scroll on social media and play games? That truly isolates you from any type of human interaction. If you take yourself away from social media and start doing those things that we used to do when we were kids, like back in the 80s and the 90s, when you could take a book and go sit under a tree and read and laugh with your friends, or you can go outside, jump rope, you could play hopscotch, you could race in the street, you could play, pick up basketball, you could play tennis, you could play volleyball, you could just get out there and dance with just some music, or you could sit on the stoop, you could sit on somebody's porch, just let your legs swing over and listen to the wind. But surround yourself with people. Don't let the things that have been created by technology take away the thing that is truly inside of you. And that's to be around others, to grow through the human interactions that we have each and every day. Because you got some people that have become, very good at isolation. And you can watch, their videos on social media, and all you're doing is making them money. And sure, it's great to follow and support people to help them make money. But at what cost? What are you doing to make sure that you have the human interaction that keeps you from isolating yourself and falling into that deep depression? So if you do those three things, just to start, you'll notice that you're going to feel more like you did when life wasn't so inundated with technology. Now, like I said, all technology isn't bad because you can do some things much faster now than you could before. And now that we have those things, it's like if somebody would take them away, what would happen? Just like, I read this book about this EMP that happened, and they went back to like the Stone Age, and it was like people didn't know how to plant food, they didn't know how to wash clothes, they didn't know how to communicate with families in other cities. It was like, do we start the Pony Express again? How do we get mail? How do we, get gas? How do we make these cars move? Do we need a horse? What do we do? What happens if something like that happens? A lot of people around here wouldn't know what to do. And just like in that book, a lot of people resorted to violence because money didn't matter. Think about it. What good is money if you don't have the basic skills to live? Unless, you're bribing somebody thinking and hoping that eventually everything would come back online and you'd be able to get back on your phone, you'd be able to get back on your TV or whatever it is that you were doing before the EMP actually happened. And an EMP is electromagnetic pulse. And what happens is if it goes off, at the right moment, then it shuts down all forms of communication. Anything that's run by electricity is dead. You think about those electric cars, you think about your computers, you think about your garage door, you think about your lights, you think about everything that you use that is a modern convenience. 9 times out of 10, it is run by electricity. So imagine if that were to go away, how would you live? So technology is isolating us in a way, but at the same time, we have the power to get out, to live, to do, to act outside of technology. We just have to teach our children and the children around us that everything does not have to be done on a computer. You can show them how to write a check. You can show them how to change a tire. But guess what? You can't do that if you isolate yourself. And I know a lot of elderly people that are watching this, they feel, obsolete. You are not obsolete. You hold the holy grail to life. You lived in a time where there was no technology. So if there was ever a time that we had to live without technology, you all would know exactly what to do. You are our teachers. You are important to us. We need you. We love you. And we've survived because of you. So please don't isolate if you're elderly. Get out there and show people what you're made of. Because technology has nothing on you. I just want to encourage you all today before I get off, because that's all I really want to talk about today was not isolating or the effects or the impact of isolation. Because you don't realize that you're isolated until You want to reach out to someone and there's no one to call because you haven't been in touch, or you feel like, well, if I call them, they're going to think I want something because I've been staying to myself so much. Don't do that. Go ahead, reestablish some relationships, friendships, because I'm sure they may be going through the same thing too. And no one deserves to be alone. All right. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy day to watch this episode of Embracing the Fight Isolation. And as always, I want you all to have an absolutely amazing day.